The air is cooling now as the sun descends toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. You stand at the edge of an ancient world, where time moves differently, where the stones themselves seem to breathe with the memory of centuries. This is Hampi, a landscape of forgotten temples and crumbling palaces, and you have arrived at the perfect hour, when the day's heat finally releases its grip and the earth begins to exhale. You take a slow breath, feeling the warmth still radiating from the ground beneath your feet. The path ahead winds between massive boulders, rounded and stacked impossibly by some ancient geological patience. These rocks glow golden in the fading light, their surfaces smooth and warm. When you reach out to steady yourself, the stone feels alive under your palm, sun-baked and solid, connecting you to something vast and enduring. As you begin to walk, the sound of your footsteps is soft, almost reverent. The path is covered in fine dust, pale ochre in color, and it rises in small clouds with each step before settling back down. There is a particular quality to the silence here, not empty, but full, as if the air itself is holding space for something sacred. In the distance, you hear the call of a peacock, that distinctive cry that echoes across the valley and then fades into stillness once more. The scent of the land surrounds you. There is warm stone and dry earth, the faint sweetness of wild jasmine growing in unexpected places among the ruins, and something else, something almost like incense, though no fires are burning. Perhaps it is simply the memory of devotion, lingering in the air after all these centuries. You continue forward, and the first temple comes into view. It emerges gradually from the landscape, not imposing itself, but revealing itself slowly, as if it has been waiting patiently for you to arrive. The structure rises from a foundation of broad stone steps, their edges worn smooth by countless feet over countless years. Pillars stand in rows, some intact, some broken, all of them carved with an intricacy that seems impossible, too delicate for stone. The light is changing now, deepening into that particular golden hour glow that makes everything seem suspended between day and night, between the world of activity and the world of dreams. Shadows lengthen across the carved surfaces, emphasizing every detail, every flower and deity and dancing figure preserved in granite. You climb the steps slowly, feeling the slight unevenness of each stone, worn into gentle curves by time and weather, and the passage of pilgrims long gone. Your hand trails along a carved pillar, and you feel the coolness there, the way the stone holds onto the relief of evening, even as its sun-facing surfaces still pulse with warmth. Around you, the landscape opens in all directions. Boulder-strewn hills roll toward the horizon, dotted with the silhouettes of temple towers and gopurams, catching the last rays of light. The Tungabhadra River curves through the distance, a ribbon of silver gold reflecting the sky. Palm trees rise here and there, their fronds absolutely still in the windless evening. The quality of light continues to shift, moment by moment, growing softer and more diffuse. The harsh clarity of day gives way to something gentler, more forgiving. Details begin to blur slightly at the edges, and the world takes on a dreamlike quality, as if the boundary between past and present is thinning, as if you might turn a corner and find these temples as they once were, alive with ceremony and song. But there is no need to hurry. There is no need to see everything at once. You have all the time you need to wander these ancient paths, to let the peace of this place settle into your bones. You step closer to one of the temple structures, drawn by the intricate carvings that cover every surface. Your fingers trace the stone, cool and smooth beneath your touch. The granite has been shaped with such precision that you can feel the deliberate marks of the craftsmen who worked here centuries ago. Their chisels ringing out in the hot sun, their hands knowing exactly where to strike, where to curve, where to let the stone speak. The pillars rise before you, each one different from the next. Some are carved with musicians, their stone instruments frozen mid-song. Others show dancers, their bodies curved in impossible grace, their stone saris flowing as if caught in a wind that stopped blowing 500 years ago. You run your hand along a pillar and feel the ridges where a sculptor carved the folds of fabric, the bend of an elbow, the tilt of a head. Such care, such patience. You notice how the setting sun catches these carvings, creating shadows that make them seem almost alive. A stone elephant appears to breathe. A carved lotus seems to sway. The light moves slowly across the reliefs, revealing details that were hidden moments before, then softening them again into shadow. Nothing here is flat. Nothing is simple. Every surface has been considered, shaped, given meaning and beauty. Above you, the temple ceiling rises in tiers, each level carved with geometric patterns that draw your eye upward and upward until you're looking at the very top, where the last rays of sunlight touch the highest point. The ceiling is supported by brackets carved into the shapes of mythical creatures, their eyes watchful, their bodies strong. They have held this roof for centuries. They will hold it for centuries more. You move through a corridor where the walls are covered in panels telling stories. Here, a battle. There, a wedding. Everywhere, the daily life of a kingdom rendered in stone. You see farmers bringing in harvest. You see merchants weighing goods. You see children playing, women dancing, holy men meditating beneath carved trees. The stone remembers everything. The stone forgets nothing. The craftsmanship is so fine that you can see individual fingers on carved hands, individual teeth in carved smiles, individual leaves on carved vines that wind their way up door frames and around windows. Someone spent days, perhaps weeks, carving a single panel. Someone cared enough to make beauty that would last. You rest your hand on a doorway and feel the worn smoothness of the stone where countless other hands have rested, where countless other travelers have paused just as you pause now, breathing slowly, taking it all in. The stone is warm from the day's heat, giving back the sun's warmth even as the air begins to cool. In the fading light, you notice how the builders chose to place each structure. Nothing is random. The temples align with the paths of sun and stars. The courtyards open to catch breezes. The platforms are positioned to frame views of the river, the hills, the endless sky. Architecture and landscape merge. The human and the natural become one. You sit on a stone step, your back against a pillar carved with 1,000 details you could spend a lifetime studying. The stone supports you. The stone holds you. You can feel the weight of all this history, all this artistry, all this devotion to beauty and precision and meaning. But it doesn't feel heavy. It feels grounding. It feels right. The temple breathes around you in the evening air. Somewhere, a bird calls. Somewhere, leaves rustle. The stone stands silent and eternal, patient as mountains, certain as the turning of the earth. You close your eyes and simply feel yourself here, held by this place, surrounded by the work of hands long turned to dust. The stones remember everything. They remember the footsteps of thousands, pilgrims who traveled months to reach this sacred place, merchants who brought silk and spices from distant lands, priests who rose before dawn to prepare offerings of flowers and ghee. You can almost hear them now, a gentle murmur beneath the wind, the echo of devotion that soaked into these walls century after century. In your mind's eye, you see them. A woman in a cotton sari, carrying a brass vessel of water from the river. A child running between the pillars, laughing, while his mother calls him back. An old man sitting in the shade of the mandapa, telling stories to anyone who will listen. They lived here. They loved here. They argued about the price of rice and worried about the monsoon rains and sang prayers that rose like incense into the humid air. The Vijayanagara Empire, they called it, the city of victory. For 200 years, this was the heart of a kingdom that stretched across the southern peninsula, a beacon of art and learning and faith. Kings ruled from palaces you can still see, crumbling now, open to the sky, but also beautiful in their decay, elegant in their return to the earth. You imagine the marketplace that once filled the long bazaar street, voices calling out their wares, the smell of jasmine and turmeric and fresh bread, the jingle of anklets as dancers performed in the temple courtyards, the deep resonance of drums during festival days, when the whole city gathered to watch the deity's chariot pull through the streets, massive wooden wheels rolling over stone, flowers raining down from every window and rooftop. They worshipped here with their whole hearts. Each morning they woke to the sound of bells. Each evening they lit oil lamps that flickered like stars in the gathering dark. The main temple, dedicated to Virupaksha, a form of Shiva, still stands, still functions, an unbroken thread connecting past to present. Priests still chant the same Sanskrit verses their ancestors chanted 500 years ago. The flame still circles before the shrine. The deity still receives offerings of coconut and camphor and devotion. You breathe slowly, imagining yourself among them, not as a visitor, but as someone who belongs. You walk barefoot on the cool stone floor. You pause to receive a blessing, a touch of sacred ash on your forehead, the press of a flower into your palm. You sit in the dimness of the inner sanctum and feel the accumulated prayers of generations settling around you like a cloak, warm and heavy and impossibly comforting. The kings who built these temples believed they were creating something eternal. They quarried granite from the hills and carved it into gods and goddesses, into celestial beings and mythical creatures, into scenes from ancient epics, battles and weddings, meditations and dances. They employed thousands of artisans, each one adding their skill to the growing wonder. A sculptor might spend months on a single panel, ensuring every fold of cloth fell naturally, every expression conveyed the right emotion. And it worked. Their vision outlasted them, outlasted their kingdom, their language as a living tongue, their names in common memory. But the stones remain, the temples remain, the carved elephants still process across their friezes, the dancers still dance in perpetual grace, the lotus flowers still bloom in stone, perfect and unchanging. You think about the last days of the empire, when armies came from the north, a confederation of sultanates determined to destroy this powerful kingdom. They succeeded. In 1565, after a catastrophic battle, the city fell. For months, it was looted and burned. The palaces were ransacked, the people fled, the grand bazaars fell silent. But they couldn't destroy everything, couldn't topple every temple, couldn't erase every prayer. The granite was too strong, the faith too deep. And so Hampi endured, sleeping through centuries, waiting for people to return and remember and wonder. You feel no sadness in this, only a deep, peaceful acceptance. All things change, all kingdoms rise and fall, all people are born and die. But beauty persists, devotion persists. The human impulse to create something larger than ourselves, something that speaks to the divine, that persists. The pilgrims who came here knew this. They didn't come for the empire, they came for something older, something that would outlast any earthly power. They came to stand before the infinite and feel themselves small and significant all at once. They came to offer their prayers to the river and the rocks and the sky. They came to be part of something eternal. And you are part of it now too. Resting here in imagination, surrounded by their legacy. Your breathing is slow and even. Your body is relaxed and still. The stones hold you gently, the way they've helped. You rest among the stones, and time begins to shift around you. The centuries peel back like layers of silk. The ruins grow whole again. The silence fills with sound. Not suddenly, but gradually, like dawn arriving. You are still here, still calm, still breathing slowly. But now you witness something remarkable. The temple is alive. It is morning in the 16th century. The Vijayanagara Empire is at its height, a jewel of the world. You remain an observer, invisible and at peace, watching history breathe around you. The first sound is the bell. Deep and resonant, it rolls across the valley like thunder made of bronze. Then another bell answers from a distant temple, and another. The city is waking with music. Your body relaxes deeper with each reverberating tone. The sound moves through you like a massage for your spirit. Now come the voices. Priests chanting Sanskrit verses in the pre-dawn darkness. Their words are rhythmic, hypnotic. You don't need to understand them to feel their meaning. Devotion sounds the same in any language. The chants rise and fall like waves. Your breathing matches their rhythm without effort. In and out, rising and falling. Everything is exactly as it should be. The light begins to change. The first rays of sun touch the tallest gopuram, that towering temple gateway. The stone glows amber, then gold, then brilliant white. It's like watching the temple catch fire with gentleness. The light spills down the carved surfaces, illuminating every detail. 1,000 stone figures seem to move in the dancing light. Gods and goddesses, musicians and dancers, elephants and peacocks, all of them emerging from darkness into day. You are so relaxed now, so completely at ease. The courtyard fills with people. They move with purpose, but without haste. Women in silk saris that catch the morning light, crimson, sapphire, emerald green. Men in white dhotis, priests in saffron robes. Children darting between the pillars, their laughter bright as birdsong. Everyone is here for the morning ceremony. You watch them with drowsy contentment, your eyelids growing heavier. The air fills with fragrance, jasmine garlands being carried to the temple, incense burning in brass holders, sandalwood paste being prepared, coconuts being broken as offerings, their sweet milk spilling on ancient stones. Rose petals, scattered in paths of crimson. Every scent is soothing. Every scent invites you deeper into rest. Musicians arrive. They settle in the mandapa, the great pillared hall. A mridangam drum begins, its rhythm steady as a heartbeat. Then, the veena, its strings singing like a human voice. A flute joins, weaving melody through the morning air. The music is mathematical and mystical at once. It creates patterns that your mind can almost see. Following these patterns, you drift. Your thoughts become sounds. Your sounds become stillness. The ceremony begins. The curtain to the inner sanctum draws back. Inside, the deity is adorned with flowers, with silk, with gold. Oil lamps are lit, dozens of them, hundreds of them. Their flames multiply the light until the whole temple glows. The priests move through rituals perfected over centuries. Every gesture has meaning. Every movement is prayer made visible. Your body is completely relaxed now. Your mind is quiet and clear. The music continues. The bells ring. The people bow and pray and sing. This is the empire at its peak, when Hampi was one of the greatest cities on earth, when merchants came from Persia and Portugal, when diamonds were sold in the markets like vegetables, when art and architecture reached heights that still inspire wonder, when faith built monuments that would outlast kingdoms. But you are not thinking about greatness. You are simply here, present in this moment, breathing in jasmine and sandalwood, listening to drums and bells, watching light pour through stone windows. The weight of history doesn't burden you. It cradles you. You are held by something larger than yourself, something beautiful and true. The ceremony continues. Your eyes grow heavier. The sounds begin to blend together. The light becomes softer. You are drifting now, drifting like a petal on water. The ceremony fades behind you as you drift toward the quieter edges of the temple complex. Your footsteps have no weight. You move like thought itself, drawn toward the forgotten places where silence has made its home. A narrow pathway leads you between crumbling walls. Moss grows thick in the crevices. Small white flowers push through the stones, their petals luminous in the dimming light. No one has walked this way in years, perhaps decades. The stones remember feet that have long since turned to dust, but they welcome yours now. They are patient. They have always been patient. You come upon a shrine so small you might have missed it. 3 walls and a ceiling open to the east. Inside, a lingam rises from its circular base, smooth with age and touch. Someone has left flowers here recently. Jasmine. The fragrance hangs in the still air like a blessing. This place was never grand. It was built for private devotion, for the prayers whispered at dawn by someone whose name the world has forgotten. You sit at the threshold. The stone is cool beneath you, worn smooth by bodies that came here seeking what you seek now, peace, stillness, a moment outside of time. The air grows softer as evening deepens. You rise and follow the sound of water. The path descends gradually. Your breathing slows to match your pace. Each step is a letting go. Each breath releases something you no longer need. The Tungabhadra River appears through the trees, silver in the twilight, moving with ancient patience toward the sea. Along the riverbank, stone steps descend into the water, the ghats. places of ritual bathing, of prayer, of release. The steps are worn in the middle where countless feet have passed, concave depressions in granite that should last forever. You settle on the steps, not at the water's edge but higher up, where you can see without being seen, where you can witness without participating. The river flows. It has flowed this way for millions of years. It will flow this way long after everything else has crumbled. A boat drifts past, empty, tethered to nothing, going nowhere and everywhere. You watch it disappear around the bend. Your thoughts follow it, downstream, away, gone. The first stars appear. One by one, they puncture the deepening blue. You recognize none of them. Or perhaps you recognize all of them. They were here when these temples rose from imagination into stone. They will be here when the temples return to earth. Behind you, somewhere in the complex, a bell rings. Once, twice, 3 times. The sound travels across water, across stone, across centuries. It finds you. It touches something inside you that has no name. You stand, though you have no memory of deciding to stand. Your body knows the way, through a carved archway, into a courtyard you have never seen before. 4 walls contain this space, open to the sky. Moonlight pools on the paving stones like spilled milk. In the center of the courtyard, a stone basin catches the light. Once it held oil for lamps, or water for blessing, or flowers for offering. Now it holds only shadows, only moonlight, only peace. You approach the basin, kneel beside it. The stone is warm from the day's sun. It gives you its heat, its last gift before night claims it completely. Your reflection wavers in the darkness of the basin. But it is not your face you see, it is every face that has knelt here. Every seeker, every wanderer, every soul that came to this place carrying hope or sorrow or nothing at all. The boundaries dissolve between then and now, between you and them, between waking and sleep. You rest your hand on the stone rim. It is enough. This gesture, this moment, this breath. The temples hold you in their silence. The night folds around you like a blanket woven from starlight. Your breathing deepens, slows. The stone beneath your fingers remembers everything. 500 years of monsoons. 500 years of silence after the drums fell quiet. The Vijayanagara Empire rose here like a dream made of granite and gold. 14 square miles of temples and markets and palaces. A city of 500,000 souls. They called it the City of Victory. They carved their prayers into every surface. The wind shifts slightly. It carries something. Not quite sound, not quite scent. A memory of incense. Sandalwood and camphor. The ghost of temple fires that burn day and night for 2 centuries. You breathe it in. This phantom fragrance. This echo of devotion. Your shoulders settle deeper into their rest. The stones around you witnessed everything. They saw the artists arrive. Sculptors from distant villages, carrying their tools in cloth bundles. They worked for years, decades. Some spent their entire lives carving a single temple, chiseling stories into stone. Gods and goddesses emerging from granite. elephants processing endlessly around temple bases, musicians frozen mid-song, dancers caught forever in their graceful turns. You can almost hear them, the ancient chisels. Tap, 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 patient, methodical, the sound of creation. Your heartbeat finds that rhythm, slow, steady, the rhythm of making something that will outlast you by centuries. The empire bloomed. Traders came from Persia and Portugal and China. They wrote of the bazaars, miles of shops selling diamonds and silk and spices. They described the king's palace. 9 platforms rising like a temple to earthly power. They marveled at the water systems, stone channels carrying rivers through the city, fountains in every square, pools reflecting the sky. You sink deeper. The stone is warm from the day's sun. It releases that warmth slowly, carefully, like a gift it has been saving, just for you. For 200 years, the city thrived. 200 years of festivals, of processions, of oil lamps lighting every shrine at dusk. The Virupaksha temple never went dark, never fell silent. Priests chanted in Sanskrit. Bells rang at dawn and noon and sunset. The sacred river flowed. Everything flowed. Time and water and prayer. Your breathing is so slow now, so soft, like the river in drought season, still moving, barely. Then came 1565, the Battle of Talikota. 5 sultanates joined forces against the empire. The city of Victory fell. For 6 months the armies destroyed, smashed, burned. They toppled towers, shattered sculptures, hauled away gold and jewels and anything precious. The silence that followed lasted centuries. Still lasts. You rest in that silence now. But they could not destroy everything. Stone is patient. Stone endures. The temple stood, wounded but standing. The river kept flowing, and slowly, very slowly. The jungle came back. Vines climbed the palace walls. Trees grew from courtyards. Monkeys made homes in maharajas, chambers. Nature reclaimed what had been hers first. You are so heavy now, your whole body sinking into rest, like stone settling into earth. This is how it feels to become part of the landscape, part of the history, part of the eternal present that these ruins inhabit. The British came in the 1800s, drew maps, made sketches, wrote reports. The Archaeological Survey began its careful work, cataloging, preserving, trying to hold back time's patient erosion. They could not restore what was lost. No one could. But they could bear witness. They could remember on behalf of those who had forgotten. And now you are here, lying beneath these same stars the ancient astronomers studied, breathing the same air that carried temple smoke 5 centuries ago. Your presence is another layer, another moment in the endless succession of moments this place has known. The night deepens around you. The temples stand their vigil. They have stood through so much. They will stand through so much more. You do not need to stand, you only need to rest, to let the weight of history become weightless, to let the stones hold you. They are very good at holding. They have had 500 years of practice. You find yourself drifting closer to one of the pillars, not walking, drifting, the way thoughts drift, the way sleep comes, unbidden and inevitable. The stone column rises before you, 16 sides catching the late light. each facet carved with such precision that the edges meet in lines sharper than reason, sharper than time should allow. Your fingertips brush the surface, cool, smooth. The stone has been worn by centuries of hands, countless palms, seeking the same connection you seek now. The granite feels almost soft under your touch, polished by devotion and decades, and the simple fact of presence. You can feel the grooves of carved dancers spiraling upward, their bodies frozen mid-gesture, arms raised, feet lifted, eternal. The craftsman who made this knew something about patience. They understood that some things cannot be rushed. Like sleep, like the slow settling of breath, like the gradual emptying of the mind. Each curve of each figure was coaxed from raw stone with tools you cannot imagine, with time you cannot fathom. Days becoming weeks, becoming months, becoming years, all to create this moment. Your hand on cool stone, your breathing slowing. Look up, the ceiling seems impossibly far away. Carved lotus blossoms spreading across stone panels, each petal distinct, each curve deliberate. The flowers open downward, as if offering blessing, as if offering rest. Between them, geometric patterns interlock with such complexity that following them makes your eyes heavy. Heavier. The patterns blur. That's fine. You don't need to see clearly. You only need to feel the weight of beauty pressing gently down. In the corner of your vision, a bracket emerges from the wall. Stone transformed into something that appears almost weightless. A yali, a mythical creature, all muscle and snarl and impossible grace, supports a being that has supported itself for half a millennium. The sculptor gave this guardian bulging eyes, forever vigilant, forever watching. So you don't have to watch. So you can close your eyes completely. Let the stone guardians do their work. The pillars are musical, did you know? Strike them gently and they sing. Different notes from different stones, the same granite producing sounds that range across octaves. The Vitala temple holds instruments made of stone, entire musical pillars that create melodies when touched. But you don't need to strike them now. The music is happening anyway, underneath everything. The hum of ancient intention. The resonance of hands working stone with such care that the stone itself learned to sing. Your body feels heavier against the floor. The weight is welcome, necessary. You are becoming like the temple itself, rooted, settled. The architecture enters you through your skin, through your breath. The precision of those 16-sided pillars finds echo in the precision of your slowing heartbeat. Regular, measured, perfect. Every surface tells a story carved in stone. Epic battles, divine weddings, demons and gods and the spaces between. But the stories are quiet now. They don't demand attention. They simply exist, patient as stone is patient, content to be witnessed or not witnessed, known or unknown. Like sleep. Sleep doesn't demand. It only waits, offers, opens. The corbelled arches overhead were built without mortar, stone fitted to stone so perfectly that nothing else was needed. No glue, no cement, just understanding. Just careful attention to angle and weight and balance. The stones hold themselves up through the elegance of their arrangement. Through intention becomes structure. Your thoughts are arranging themselves the same way. settling into place, finding their natural order, requiring nothing from you. The walls are cooling as evening comes. The heat of the day, stored in thick stone, begins to release. The temple breathes out. Slowly, so slowly, you breathe with it. Out. Out. Longer than you breathed in. The exhalation that leads to stillness, to silence, to the deep quiet that lives in carved stone and in bodies ready for rest. You are not alone in this temple. You have never been alone here. The stone remembers everyone who passed through its arched doorways, everyone who pressed palms together in greeting, in prayer, in farewell. The air is thick with their presence, not ghosts, just echoes. The way a shell holds the ocean, the way these walls hold 5 centuries of ordinary days. A woman walked here in the morning light, 1600, perhaps 1610. The year doesn't matter. What matters is the basket balanced on her head, the marigolds bright against the gray stone. What matters is her bare feet on this floor, the same floor beneath you now. Cool, smooth, worn by 10,000 journeys just like hers. She brought flowers to the deity each dawn. Orange blooms, yellow, the colors of sunrise, the colors of devotion that asks for nothing but gives anyway. You can almost smell them. Marigolds, jasmine, sandalwood smoke rising from oil lamps. The temple in those days was alive with fragrance, with color, with sound. Not silent like tonight, never silent. There were children here, always children, running between pillars in a game of hiding, of seeking, of laughter echoing off carved ceilings. A boy whose name no one remembers anymore. He laughed here, right here. His joy touched these walls the same way yours does now, the same way your breathing does. In, out, connecting you to everyone who ever rested in the presence of something larger than themselves. The priests moved through their rituals with the rhythm of seasons. The same gestures, day after day, year after year, bells ringing at dawn, at noon, at dusk, marking time the way your heartbeat marks it now, steady, certain, a pulse that continues even when you're not paying attention. They rang the bells, they lit the lamps, they chanted words that turned air into prayer, syllables older than the temple itself, older than the stones. Sanskrit verses, Kannada songs, the local tongue mixing with the sacred language. A merchant from Persia might have stood where you stand now, listening to sounds he didn't understand but felt anyway. Music is like that. Devotion is like that. It doesn't need translation. On festival days, the temple overflowed, bodies pressed together, not crowded, not uncomfortable, close, connected. The way people gather around something beautiful, something sacred, wanting to be near it, wanting to be near each other. Oil lamps by the hundreds, by the thousands, flickering, making the carved stone seem to move, to dance, to breathe. The entire temple breathing, the entire city breathing together. A musician sat in that corner, where the acoustics are perfect, where sound gathers and blooms. He played the veena, strings resonating through the stone, through the air, through the bodies of everyone listening. Music and architecture became one thing, inseparable. The way your breath and this moment are becoming one thing now, inseparable. There were arguments here too, a couple disagreeing about their daughter's marriage. Voices rising, then softening, remembering where they stood. Sacred space has a way of putting things in perspective, making the urgent feel less urgent, making the temporary feel temporary. They resolved it, or they didn't. Either way, they walked out together. Either way, the temple held them both. An old woman came every evening, widowed young, wearing white. She circumambulated the shrine 7 times, every evening. For 40 years, her feet knew the path, could walk it sleeping. Maybe did walk it sleeping, in dreams where her husband was still young, still laughing, still there. These are the people who made this place alive, who made it holy, not the architects, not the kings, them too, yes, but mostly the ones who came with flowers, with prayers, with children in tow and troubles in heart. They filled the temple with their humanity, their hope, their grief, their joy. And now you're here, breathing, being held by the same stones that held them, part of the lineage of presence. You close your eyes and the centuries dissolve. Like mist lifting from the river, time becomes transparent, and through it you sense another morning. The same sun rising over these same hills. But the year is 1520, the height of empire, the fullness of glory. The temple awakens before dawn. A bell rings, bronze striking bronze in the darkness, its tone spreading through stone corridors like water finding every crack and corner. Another bell answers from across the courtyard, then another. A conversation of metal and reverence calling the day into being. Footsteps on stone, hundreds of them. Priests in white cloth moving through the pre-dawn blue. Their feet knowing every uneven surface, every dip worn smooth by generations before them. They carry oil lamps that transform the carved pillars into forests of dancing shadow. Lions seem to breathe. Horses appear to turn their heads. The stone remembers movement. In the innermost sanctum, the deity is awakened with song. Voices rise in Sanskrit verses, older than the temple itself. The sound fills the small dark chamber and spills outward, echoing through halls, touching every surface. The same acoustics that cradle your breath now once carried these ancient melodies. Morning ragas designed to mirror the quality of early light, the hope of beginning, the tenderness of the world not yet fully awake. Conch shells blow, their sound like the ocean calling from the coast 40 miles away, like the breath of something vast and patient. The goddess is bathed in milk, in rosewater, in sandalwood paste mixed with saffron. She is dressed in silk that traveled from China, in jewels that came from kingdoms whose names you've never heard, in flowers picked before sunrise when their fragrance is strongest. And now the people come. Through the towering Gopuram with its 1,000 carved figures. Past the elephant stables where real elephants stand, their skin like living stone, their eyes deep and ancient. The people flow into the courtyards. Merchants who've walked through the night, farmers from the surrounding fields, women with jasmine woven into their hair. Children running between the pillars, their laughter bright against the bass notes of ceremony. The air fills with smoke from 100 oil lamps, with incense burning in brass holders. with the scent of camphor and clarified butter, with marigolds crushed underfoot, with sweat and sandalwood and the river's morning dampness, layer upon layer of presence. Drums begin, mridangam and ghatam, their rhythms complex as mathematics, natural's heartbeat. Your own pulse slows to match them. Your breathing finds the spaces between the beats. The morning ceremony builds. Priests circle the sanctum with fire on brass trays. The flames reflect in polished stone. In the eyes of devotees, in the surfaces of offerings, bronze vessels filled with water, silver plates of fruit, copper bowls of rice and jaggery, everything gleaming, everything offered, everything given back to the source of everything. A priest chants and you feel it in your chest. The vibration of Sanskrit syllables shape to carry meaning in their sound rather than their sense. The words are vehicles. What they carry settles into the body without needing to be understood. Noon arrives with different light, harsher, whiter. The temple becomes a study in contrast. Deep shadow and blinding brightness with almost nothing in between. People rest in the shaded corridors, eating rice from banana leaves, drinking buttermilk from clay cups that will dissolve back into earth, talking in Kannada and Tamil and Telugu and languages that have since vanished. There are words lost, but their tone. The tone remains in these stones, casual, familiar, at ease. Afternoon stretches long and golden. Children study in the columned halls. Scholars debate in corners worn smooth by their daily gathering. Musicians practice on venas and flutes. The sounds overlap without clashing. The temple holds it all, designed for this, built for abundance. For the overflow of human activity and divine attention meeting in the same space. Sunset brings another ceremony. Softer than morning, the lamps are lit again. The bells ring again, but gentler now, drawing the day to its close. The temple doesn't sleep. Even in darkness, priests maintain the rhythm, keeping watch. Keeping time, keeping the connection between earth and something beyond. The temple district fades behind you as you drift toward the margins, where fewer people walk, where stones remember quieter devotions. A small shrine stands apart from the grand complexes. No towering gopuram here, no crowds, just a simple structure beneath a peepal tree, its roots embracing the base like protective arms that have held this place for centuries. The shrine is dedicated to a minor deity, a local guardian whose name most have forgotten. But someone still places flowers here. Fresh marigolds rest against a carved figure. They're orange, bright against weathered stone. Someone remembers. Even the forgotten are not entirely forgotten. You sit on the platform, the stone cool beneath you. Above, the peepal leaves move in the evening wind, their distinctive heart shapes rustling with a sound like distant rainfall. The tree is old, perhaps as old as the shrine itself. Sacred fig, the Bodhi tree's cousin, witness to how many prayers, how many small offerings left by hands turned to dust. The riverbank calls you next, not the busy ghats where pilgrims bathe in sunlight. The quieter stretches, stone steps descending into water, some broken now, some slick with moss. The river moves past with its eternal patience, the same river that gave this valley life, that brought traders and poets and armies, that remains when empires crumble. A pavilion stands at the water's edge, 8 pillars supporting a simple roof, nothing elaborate, a resting place, a viewing platform, the kind of structure built for contemplation rather than ceremony. You stand between the pillars. The river flows before you, silver in the rising moonlight. Behind you, the boulder hills rise dark against the darkening sky. This is where the city breathed, between the grand temples and the royal platforms, in these in-between spaces, where someone might sit after bathing in the river, where a servant might rest carrying water back to the palace, where lovers might meet away from watching eyes. The stones hold no record of such moments, but they happened. Life happened, not just in marble halls, but here, on simple steps, beneath simple roofs. The moon climbs higher, nearly full. Its light transforms the landscape. The boulders become sculptural. The river becomes mercury. The ruins become something from dreams. You walk through a courtyard you hadn't noticed in daylight. 4 walls mostly intact, open to the sky. In one corner, a small shrine. In another, the remains of a well. Someone lived here once. This was their daily space. They drew water from that well. They swept this courtyard. They watched this same moon rise over these same walls. Their specific thoughts are lost. Their specific joys and sorrows vanished. But the space remains, holding the shape of their life like an echo too faint to hear, but somehow still present. A bat flits overhead, then another. The evening hunters emerging. You hear nightjars calling from the boulder hills. The air carries the scent of jasmine from somewhere. A night-blooming vine claiming its territory among the ruins. You find a carved stone platform, perhaps a bed, perhaps a meditation seat. You lie back. The stone holds the day's warmth. Above, the sky deepens to indigo. Stars begin their appearance, not all at once. Gradually, politely, like guests arriving to a gathering. The temple bells sound distantly, evening prayers at the Virupaksha. But here, in this forgotten courtyard, there's only silence between the bells, only the small sounds, a lizard skittering across stone, the wind through broken windows, your own breathing, slowing, settling, finding the rhythm of this place, where nothing demands your attention, where nothing asks you to remember or understand or even stay awake. Just rest, here in the margin, where the forgotten still holds space, where the river still flows, where the moon illuminates ruins and wholeness equally, where you dissolve into darkness soft as temple silk, into silence deep as ancient wells. The stones remember empires, but you need not. Their memory lives in weight and texture now, in the way granite holds the coolness of 500 years within its polished surface. Your fingers trail along a pillar where craftsmen worked for months to carve a single lotus, each petal curved with devotion that required no signature, no claim, just the offering of perfection to something larger than name or legacy. The Vijayanagara Empire rose here where 3 rivers met, rose in stone and gold and architectural ambition that mapped the cosmos onto earth. Temples aligned with solstices, markets measured in days of walking, a city that housed 500,000 souls in an age when London held barely 50,000. But these facts dissolve now into the feeling of immensity, into the scale of the corridor you walk through, where columns march in perfect repetition toward a vanishing point you cannot see, where your footsteps echo in rhythms that suggest processions. Ceremonies, the patient movement of the devoted carrying offerings at dawn. You don't need the dates, don't need the dynasty names, or the Chronicle of Kings. The history lives in your body's response to space. The way this courtyard makes you small, the way that archway frames the sky with such precision that you understand instantly. Beauty was once a form of power. Architecture was prayer made permanent. The empire fell in a single year, 1565. 6 months of siege and battle, then silence. But even that violence feels distant now, softened by centuries into the gentle tragedy of ruins, into the way trees grow through palace floors, the way monkeys leap across gaps that once held wooden bridges. Nature doesn't erase the past here. It embraces it, wraps around it, makes it part of an ongoing story where destruction and growth are simply different rhythms in the same patient song. You rest against a wall where the stone still holds faint traces of paint. Mineral pigments ground by hand, mixed with milk and honey, applied in layers of such care that fragments survive the monsoons of 500 years. Once this wall blazed with color, reds and blues and golds that caught lamplight and made the divine visible, made the stories dance. Now only whispers remain. Hints, enough to suggest splendor without insisting on it. The wind through these halls sounds like breathing, like the temple itself is sleeping, dreaming of festivals and ceremonies, of oil lamps by the thousands turning courtyards into constellations, of dancers whose feet knew these floors as memory knows childhood, absolutely, without question, of merchants from Persia and Portugal bringing horses and silk and stories from beyond the horizon, all of it here once, all of it gone. All of it somehow still present in the quality of light, the arrangement of stone, the proportions that make even emptiness feel sacred. You're sinking deeper now, into sleep that feels like belonging to this cycle, this rising and falling, this building and dissolving. Your breath slows to match the patient rhythm of stone weathering, of rivers cutting channels, of time doing its gentle, inexorable work. The temples aren't lost. They've been here all along, waiting with the patience that only stone can hold, waiting for moonlight, for silence, for the moment when history stops being information and becomes atmosphere, when the past stops being separate and becomes the texture of the present, when you stop being a visitor and become simply another breath in an endless respiration. Rest here, in the aftermath of empire, in the beginning of forgetting, in the space between what was and what remains, where the stones hold stories without speaking them, where the river answers questions without words, where sleep comes like centuries settling. Slow, sure, inevitable as erosion, gentle as moonlight on temple walls. You're already dreaming, already part of the... You drift through courtyards where the stone itself becomes teaching. Every surface carved with intention, with meaning layered beneath meaning. The pillars rise around you like ancient trees, each one different, each one speaking its own stone language, some carved into clusters of smaller columns, bundled together like reeds, like the memory of wooden architecture translated into granite, made permanent, made forever. Your fingers trace the grooves. The channels where chisel met stone 500 years ago. You can almost feel the rhythm of the work, the patience required. One tap, another, 1,000 taps to shape a single leaf, 10,000 to render the fold of a garment, 100,000 to complete a pillar, and there are hundreds of pillars, thousands, each one an act of devotion measured in years. The musical pillars stand in rows, hollow columns that ring when struck, each producing a different note. A stone xylophone built into the temple's body. You don't touch them now. You just know they're there. Know that someone carved these massive pieces of granite so precisely that they sing, that they turn architecture into instrument, structure into sound, stone into music that outlasts empires. Above you, the ceilings hold geometric dreams, lotus flowers blooming in stone, concentric circles of petals opening toward the center, towards some mathematical perfection. The patterns repeat, but never exactly. Always some small variation, some human touch within the divine geometry. Your eyes follow the spirals inward, deeper. The way sleep spirals inward. The way consciousness folds into itself like petals closing at dusk. The brackets and corbels jutting from walls show impossible delicacy. Stone carved so thin it seems it should break under its own weight. But it doesn't. It holds. Has held for centuries. Will hold for centuries more. Leaves and vines and mythical creatures emerging from the granite. As if the stone remembered being forest, being jungle, and is slowly dreaming itself back. You move through halls where every surface tells stories, not just in the figures depicted, but in the way the stone is cut, the way light falls across carved surfaces, creating shadows that shift with the sun's passage, with the moon's slow arc, a temple designed not just for space, but for time, for the movement of light across stone, for the changing seasons of shadow and illumination. The doorways frame emptiness now, but what doorways they are! Lintels carved with scrolling patterns, with protective deities, with auspicious symbols to bless all who passed beneath. The jambs showing ascending tiers of decoration, simple at the base, growing more complex as they rise, as if the stone itself is climbing toward elaboration, toward the ecstatic detail of the sacred. In some places, you can still see the tool marks, the evidence of hands, of human effort, small imperfections that make the perfection more profound, a chisel slip, a measurement slightly off, corrected, incorporated, made part of the whole. The way breath incorporated into sleep becomes sleep itself. The way the flawed becomes the real, the authentic, the true. The platforms and plinths show layers of molding, each layer a different pattern, beaded strings, lotus petals, running scrolls, geometric chains, one atop another, creating foundations that are themselves artworks, that support the weight of carved gods and dancing figures with their own elaborate beauty, nothing taken for granted, nothing left unadorned, even the parts few would notice, even the foundations, even the hidden corners where only shadow lives. You're sinking into this knowledge now, this understanding written in stone. That beauty requires patience, that permanence demands devotion, that to create something lasting you must give yourself to it completely. The way sleep requires surrender, the way rest demands that you let go. Let the carved stone hold you. Let the ancient craftsmanship cradle your consciousness. Let yourself become another layer in the temple's long memory, another dreamer in the halls of careful work, another breath in the patience temple. The details blur now, merge, become texture without individual meaning, become the general sense of care. The stones remember footsteps, countless footsteps, the soft padding of priests at dawn, the hurried shuffle of merchants at midday, the slow procession of pilgrims who traveled months to arrive here, children running between columns while their mothers called out warnings, old men leaning against carved walls telling stories that were already ancient when they learned them. You can almost hear them now, the murmur of prayers, the laughter, the bargaining in the marketplace that once filled the temple's outer courts. All of it absorbed into the granite, all of it waiting in the warm silence. A woman comes here every morning before sunrise. You can almost see her, carrying offerings, flowers, rice, a small clay lamp. Her bare feet know every uneven stone. Her hands move through rituals her grandmother taught her. The same gestures, the same words, a thread of devotion stretching back through generations until it disappears into myth. She whispers her hopes here, her fears, the names of children she wants protected, a husband far away on trading routes, a sick father, a coming harvest. The goddess listens through stone ears. The temple holds every prayer that was ever spoken within its walls, holds them still, holds them now. A sculptor works in the courtyard. Feel the rhythm of his mallet, tap, tap, tap against the chisel, creating another dancer, another deity, another doorway guardian. He learned this art from his father. His father learned it from the generation before. The knowledge passes like breath, like blood. He doesn't think about fame, about his name surviving. He thinks about getting the curve of the hip exactly right, the angle of the hand, the fall of divine hair. His children play nearby. They've built a small temple of their own from scraps of stone. Already they're learning. Already their small hands understand granite. Understand patience. The temple raises generations like crops, like prayers. Festivals transform everything. Imagine the courtyard filled with thousands, oil lamps, turning stone to gold. Musicians with drums and bells and long curved horns. Dancers whose movements tell stories older than memory. The deity carried in procession, dressed in silk and flowers and gold. The crowd pressing close, everyone wanting to see, to touch, to be blessed. The air thick with incense and sweat and devotion. Children on their fathers' shoulders, women singing, men chanting, the sound rising like heat, like monsoon clouds. The temple, built for exactly this, built to hold exactly this much love, this much longing, this much human hope, pressing against the veil between worlds. And then the quiet days between, priests moving through empty halls, sweeping, tending lamps, maintaining the sacred routines that keep reality structured, keep the cosmos ordered, their lives measured in ritual, in repetition, in care. A teacher sits with students in the pillared hall, teaching mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, poetry. The temple is more than worship. It's a university, a library in stone. Knowledge carved into walls so it cannot be burned, cannot be lost. Students memorizing verses, calculating the movements of stars, debating the nature of reality while monkeys chatter in the trees outside. All of these lives, all of these moments, layered into the stone like sediment, like the rings inside ancient trees. The temple remembers everything. The wedding processions, the funeral rites, the daily offerings, the midnight vigils, the morning bells, every human story that unfolded in these careful spaces. You are part of that story now, another dreamer, another breath. Let yourself sink into the long memory, into the accumulated devotion. The temple holds you the way it held them all, with perfect patience, with infinite gentleness, with the same unchanging grace it's offered for 500 years. Your breathing joins the breathing of priests long dust. Your heartbeat finds the rhythm of ancient drums. The stories blur. You drift deeper into the temple's memory, into the empire at its height. When Hampi was Vijayanagara, Victory City, capital of the South, the jewel that made Portuguese traders gasp, that made Persian ambassadors write home in wonder. You float through that golden age like a dream within your dream. The sounds come first, always the sounds. Temple bells at dawn, not one bell, hundreds. Across the valley, each temple announcing sunrise, the notes cascading, overlapping, creating music that was never written, never planned, just happened every morning. For centuries, you hear them now, distant, beautiful, already pulling you deeper into rest. Conch shells join the bells, deep, resonant, calling priests to morning rituals, calling the city to waking, but you don't wake. You sink further, let the sounds wash over you, let them become the texture of your descending. Footsteps on stone, thousands of footsteps, pilgrims arriving, merchants setting up stalls, priests moving through their rounds, the city breathing, living, all those footsteps worn into the granite. You can still feel them. The stone remembers, shows you its memory as you drift past thinking. Voices now, chanting, Sanskrit verses flowing like water, like honey, rhythmic, hypnotic, designed to alter consciousness, to bridge worlds. They're doing their work on you now, across 500 years. The same syllables, the same cadences. Your mind softens, opens, releases. The ceremonies unfold around you, through you. You're not watching, you're dissolving into them, becoming them. Morning Abhisheka, the bathing of the deity, water, milk, honey, yogurt, ghee. Each substance poured with prayers, with perfect attention, the scent of sandalwood paste, turmeric, camphor, sacred smoke rising. You breathe it, let it fill you, let it carry you down. Flower offerings, thousands of flowers, jasmine, lotus, champak, marigold, their fragrance thick, intoxicating, petals everywhere, on stone, on water, in your hair, in your hands. You don't have hands anymore. You're just the scent, just the color, just the gentle falling. Afternoon now. The light has changed. Golden, slanting through carved pillars, creating patterns, shadow and brilliance, moving across stone, across faces, the whole temple breathing light. You breathe with it, in and out, light and shadow, consciousness and sleep. Oil lamps being lit, one by one, hundreds of small flames, flickering, steady, their light softer than sunlight, kinder, more intimate. They illuminate the gods' faces, illuminate the devotees' faces, the same expression on both, peace, completion, perfect rest. Evening ceremonies, the temple at its fullest, most alive, drums now, deep drums, high drums, rhythm layering on rhythm. Your heartbeat finds them, matches them, slows with them. Cymbals, their brightness cutting through, then fading, then cutting through again, like thoughts, coming, going, becoming nothing. Priests dancing, moving through sequences older than memory, their feet knowing, their hands speaking, mudras forming, dissolving, forming again. You watch without watching, understand without thinking. The dance is telling you to let go. You let go. The crowd, so many people, pressing close, but gentle, reverent. You feel their presence, their shared attention, all directed toward the same point, all directed toward nothing, toward everything. You join them, dissolve into them, become the collective breathing. Nightfall, the ceremonies reaching crescendo. Fire, so much fire. Camphor burning, its white flame, it's disappearing. Oil lamps multiplying, the temple ablaze with gentle light. And sound, all the sounds together. Bells, drums, voices, conch shells, rising, falling, creating waves. You ride the waves down, down into darkness, into silence. The empire at its peak, Victory City victorious, the temples full, the gods attending, everything in its right place, everything as it should be. And you, small, surrendered, held in that ancient perfection, breathing with the breathing of centuries, sinking into the stone's long memory, into the sleep that waits in all sacred places, the sleep that's been waiting for you. Since the first stone was laid, the stones grow quiet now. Beneath you, around you, the ancient rock settling into deeper stillness, and you settling with it. Your breath, so soft now, barely there. The temple breathing too, slow, steady, the rhythm that predates kingdoms, that outlasts empires. And somewhere, far below, the river, still flowing, always flowing, but distant now, like a memory of water, like the idea of movement, happening in another world, a world you're drifting away from. The stars overhead, impossibly bright, impossibly far, each one a small eternity, burning, patient, keeping their ancient vigil over these ruins, over you. And you don't need to watch anymore, don't need to see, don't need to understand. Just rest. Just this. The warmth of stone that's held the sun all day, now releasing it, slowly, into the cool night, into your tired body, this exchange of heat, this conversation between earth and flesh, older than words. A flame somewhere, in a shrine, a wick floating in oil, its tiny light, flickering, continuing. The way flames have flickered here for centuries, witness to nothing, witness to everything. And the darkness, not empty, full, rich, textured with presence, with history, with the prayers of millions, all dissolve now into silence, into peace, into this. Your thoughts, if there are thoughts, so slow now, so far between, like clouds, drifting, dissolving, barely formed before they're gone. And that's fine. That's perfect. That's sleep, coming for you, like a tide, inevitable, gentle, already here. The night deepening, the stones releasing their final warmth, the temple settling, settling, always settling, into its eternal foundation, into the bedrock beneath, into the earth's slow turning. And you, held in this, part of this, Stone among stones, breath among ancient breathing, sleeping the sleep that temples know, the sleep of centuries, of patience, of profound and perfect stillness. The river below, whispering to itself, old conversations, old songs, continuing, always continuing. The stars keeping watch, the flame burning low, the darkness complete. And somewhere, in the east, the first thought of dawn, hours away, impossibly distant. But there, waiting, patient, as the night is patient, as the stones are patient, as sleep is patient. Here, now, nothing more needed, nothing more to do. Just the river, the stars, the breathing dark. Just this ancient quiet. Just sleep and rest. And so the temples dream, the river dreams, the stones dream their long dream. And you too, dreaming now, held here, in this ancient place, in this perfect dark, the water moves, so soft, so slow, the stars will above, patient and remote, a single flame somewhere, burning low, burning gentle, and the silence, the great silence of stone and time, wrapping everything, holding everything, as sleep holds you now, complete, released, here, the river, the stars, the breathing earth, and rest.